I made it to Forbes.
Yo, what up guys, it's your boy Williams Fitness back again with another video. So William Bonac has recently done an interview and he's made his comments in retaliation almost towards Ronnie Coleman after his interview, where he basically said most bodybuilders from our era, our generation, kind of look trash on stage, don't look as good as, you know, himself or his era, etc. So I'm just going to read through William Bonac's statements and comments on it, and then we'll go from there. So he didn't say that about me, said William Bonac with a laugh. I still don't think that he should say that, you know, especially coming from that kind of man with a status like Ronnie. He's the GOAT, and he did a great job. Of course, he has. He has free speech, but sometimes you got to be careful with the words that you bring out. Like I said, it's a different era, Bonac affirmed. Like Brandon Curry, if Brandon was in his era, he would have done maybe the same thing that they did. Brandon could have come even better. Brandon could have won the Olympia 9 times instead of 8 times. So it's a different era. If Ronnie came in our era, he would step up to our game. If the guys, like he says, don't train hard enough, he wouldn't train hard enough. Why would he? Because nobody's training hard enough. It's his opinion, and I don't agree with it, Bonac said firmly. Not just because I'm in this era. I love back in the old school. I love it. If you want to go that way, look at all those guys. People say, look at the standard guts and blah, blah, blah. But really, go back in time and see a lot of guys with the guts with a big belly. People will also say their era was the best. They will always say that. Of course, they want to leave as legends, so they will always say that. A true champion wouldn't put a feather up in his... I don't know what it's supposed to mean. He would let other people put a feather up in his, I'm presuming, ass. So he would let other people talk about him. How great he is, he won't say how great he is. To be honest, I think the point that he's trying to make is Ronnie shouldn't be spouting a lot of shit about this generation when his generation wasn't exactly the greatest of all time. I see where William's coming from. Obviously, we all look back on the history of bodybuilding, and it does kind of seem better back then. And I think it's more down to nostalgia than what it actually is, and in comparison to what's on stage so much. Obviously, I do think the training was a lot harder back then, and I genuinely believe that, because I think part of that goes hand in hand with the access to the different steroids we have to today, and I think that does actually play a role in this conversation. I think in the 80s, you know, there wasn't a great deal of, I mean, obviously there was a lot of fucking steroids going around, but with regards to like growth hormone and things like that, there's a lot of different things out today that weren't out back then. So it kind of does make it a bit easier for the pros of today. A lot of pros way back then didn't even have coaches. They didn't have these, you know, fucking nutritionists, online fucking, all the shit that goes on Instagram with people, you know, paying fucking thousands a year for coaches and prepping and this, that and the other. So there's a lot of things you can argue on this over. I think the point is, and the point that William's trying to make is, Ronnie needs to just do it with a bit more grace, maybe. I mean, like, you know, like William said, you know, he's entitled to his opinion. We all are. I make a living off giving my shitty opinion, but still, I think, you know, given Ronnie's status, I think it doesn't do well for the industry to slate it as hard as he did, and it's going to be always difficult comparing the old school to the new school, because there's always going to be a new school. On that note, guys, just drop a comment. Do you think William's out of line? Do you think Ronnie was out of line? It's a hard one. I'm kind of on the fence on this I don't really want to take a side, because Ronnie has got valid points, but I do think William has when it comes to Ronnie making his points. But then there's the argument of freedom of speech. So, I don't know. The old school is always the best school for me, but it doesn't mean, you know, it doesn't stop me from being a fan of bodybuilding today. I'm going to leave it there. On that note, guys, I've been me, you and you. Peace.